So thank you, Zoltan. Good afternoon to all of you. First, I want to thank the Hungarian School Sport Federation for the invitation to assist to this international conference on PE. And I'm really happy to be here again after the event 2 years ago. And so today I'm going to talk about what the European Physical Education Association is doing in the field of HIPE. Therefore, there will be 3 points in my presentation. First, I give you some information about what the European Physical Education Association stands for and what we are doing. Then I will inform you about some relevant documents that EUPEA has published, where we also very often refer to HIPE or physical activity. And finally, I will inform you about our work that we do in expert groups. You heard it already before in the presentation of Paulo Rocha, that we were also involved as observers in the work of this expert group of the European Commission. And the biggest part of our work here is done in European projects. So I will give you some information about these projects, where we have very often a close cooperation with the Hungarian School Sport Federation. So, the European Physical Education Association, EUPEA, was founded in 1991 in Brussels. And this was based on an initiative from physical education teachers from different countries in Europe. And there was the idea to build up kind of a forum of exchange of the situation in the countries all over Europe, exchange of good practice, and also to talk with a common voice about relevant aspects related to physical education. So we are formally the umbrella organization of national physical education teacher associations in Europe. So we have members in more than 30 countries. Mostly these members are teacher associations, but we have also institution members like the Hungarian School Sport Federation or my university, the University of Luxembourg. And so we have there quite a good mix to advocate for physical education. So this is also then what we focus on. We try to promote physical education. We try to advocate for physical education all over Europe. And also in 1991, we published our, let's say, initial statement of what is our mission, which is the Declaration of Madrid. It was amended in Brussels 2011. And the main idea that we fight for and stand for is that there can't be any education without physical education. I think that's something that we all can agree on. And so this is what we were fighting for all over the years and what we are continuing to fight for. Even if there are now strong recommendations of this working group of the European Commission that we can support almost all of them, we know, and that has been said before, that the biggest problem is the implementation of recommendations. And unfortunately, we still have many countries in Europe where physical education as a subject in schools is not in a good standing and even is under danger. It's always the fight for the lessons, the number of lessons that we have defined. One thing is to have more, but in many countries is to keep what is there. Also, some countries where physical education is a recognized exam subject in the final year of education. There are some countries like now France and also Portugal where this situation is in danger. So we continue to have a lot of work in advocating for physical education. So, but I told already quite a lot now about this. Today my presentation will then focus more on what we are doing related to physical activity. We are also cooperating with other international agents or other associations, like the International Council of Sports Science and Physical Education, like FIEP, the International Federation for Physical Education, ISEP, which is the Association of the Higher Institutions of Higher Education related to physical education, and ENGSO and many others. And then, of course, we try to have close contacts to the policymakers, decision makers in Europe, so the European Union Commission mainly, but also we have close relationship with the Council of Europe. So first, we are member as observer in expert groups of the Commission, like the HIPE expert group, and then in the Council of Europe, there we have the enlarged partial agreement on sports, where countries from all over Europe are members, and there we are member in the consultative committee of these EPAs, and even at the moment we have a place there in the board. So I come to the second part, where I try to refer to important statements that we have made in different documents, and I start there with our initial document, which is the Declaration of Madrid, and I will only focus on statements related directly or indirectly to physical activity, and I invite you to have a look at our website later on, where you can find these documents, and there you will find other statements like what we expect with point in relation to number of lessons per week and so on. So here, EUPEA says that there is a need to emphasize the holistic approach to physical education as a subject for health empowerment and teaching, learning, values, and ethics. So this holistic approach is of highest importance for us, and of course, health empowerment, and thus also HEPA, is of relevance, but not only. This is also something that is clear for us. Even if one aim of physical education is to get students active, to get children active, there are also other objectives that the subject has, like social skills and so on. Another statement that we make there is that PE makes a major contribution to the motor, cognitive, and social development of children, and thus is one of the most important bases of lifelong physical activity. So we agree on that the fundament of lifelong physical activity can be done, should be done in physical education. And then a statement which we made in 1991, as you can see, but is of highest relevance today, also when we have a look at the recommendations of this expert group, is that cooperation between schools, sport clubs, and the local community must be enhanced. And here we argue that the coordinating role in this kind of cooperation, when it refers to schools, should be part of the PE teacher as a job. So here we made already a long time ago quite a strong statement supporting this idea. We have another document which we call the EUPEA Physical Education Guidelines. It's quite similar, repeating mainly the same ideas. Investment in the young through physical education promotes active lifestyles and health throughout life. So we ask for investment in physical education in different kind of ways. In order to give all pupils a comprehensive experience in PE, physical activity and sport, schools should work with partners outside the school. So again, we argue for this kind of cooperation. And then comes something that we didn't talk about today, I think. We support the ask for more opportunities to be offered to students also in further and higher education to gain credits for engagement in physical activity. This might maybe be surprising that we ask for something like this, but when we have a look at more and more companies that are offering opportunities for their staff members to be physically active, so why shouldn't we also follow this idea in higher education? Why shouldn't students get credits for being physically active, to engage in physical activities at university sports. And there is one example that I know that is following this idea, which is the University of Ghent in Belgium. So this is also something that should be of interest to get people more active. Then we have another document, the EUPEA principles, and I won't go into details here because it's a little bit repeating what has been said before, except for something that for us is also of highest importance, that is that all pupils should be ensured to have access to high-quality physical education, regardless of their ability or disability of culture, religion, gender, or social class. So everyone should have access. And this morning, the minister said that he attended a school where they had no sport facilities. So this is of a very important topic where policymakers have the job to assure that every school has these facilities, even if it is possible to be active outside. And this was also a recommendation of the expert group, so we can also agree on this. Something more is of importance for PE curriculum is that it should be broad and balanced in order that all children and young people are well physically educated. So that's the core, that's the main objective of physical education. Students should be well physically educated. I will come back to this later. Further on, it should be recognized that PE plays this major role in the development of young people, and we have to try to support this in any ways. Talking about well-educated students, EUPEA made some research some years ago about what is or what should be a physically well-educated person. And therefore, we made a research in 14 countries where we asked PE teachers about the most important objectives of physical education, of the subject physical education. And I'll show you here the top 5 ranking, and you will see that number 1 and number 2 are related to physical activity in HIPE. Number 1 is that PE should encourage the adoption of active and healthy lifestyles. And number 2 is that it should develop a feeling of personal well-being, wellness. So you can see for the PE teachers in those 14 countries that participated in this survey, HIPE is of highest importance. But nevertheless, there are other objectives that are important, like the values in sport, then the broad repertoire of movement competence. Students should learn various physical activities, movements, and so on. And also in relation to what was said before, all pupils should have the same opportunities to learn in PE and to achieve in PE. And this research was published in 2011 in a book edited by Professor Ken Hartman. So I come to the third point of my presentation, and it will be the largest one, I think. What is our work that we do in EUPEA related to HIPE? So the first is on expert level, I would say, that we try to bring in our expertise from physical education point of view, let's say it like this, wherever it is needed. And therefore, we applied for position of an observer in the expert group of the Commission on HIPE. And so I do not have to say anything about what is here. It was largely explained before in the presentation by Paulo Rocha. And it was our past president, Rosemarie Repon, who worked in this expert group as an observer for EUPEA. And I think that she was able to bring in our view with regard to physical education. And this was also mentioned before. Then I come to EU projects. This is something that EUPEA is getting more and more involved in. So when on one side we advocate for physical education and try to be the voice of physical education and of PE teachers, on the other side we also try to be productive and to give support to the implementation of projects, because without any implementation of good ideas, nothing will happen. And therefore, in the last years, we get more and more engaged in European projects. And I will just give you an overview of some of them that are then related close to physical activity. There's one is called PASS, Physical Activity Serving Society, and I invite you to have a look at the website of this project. We are here working with 6 other partners. The lead of this project has Sport and Citizenship, a think tank from France. And it's to propose political and strategic actions in order to promote physical activity in Europe. And mainly this project is inspired by the Design to Move campaign that you maybe are familiar with, which has already been launched on other continents. So here, the starting point in this project is the alarming situation that we face. And there's a number that we have heard before. The Eurobarometer survey says that 42% of the EU citizens do not engage in physical activity at all. We can talk about the physical inactivity crisis that we have to face. And we should try to change this development. So concretely, the project aims here are to document the scale, cause, and consequences of the physical activity crisis here in Europe. It's about raising awareness of the physical inactivity crisis to decision makers and the need to make HIPE more of a transversal political priority. So advocacy is something that is written in capital letters in the frame of this project. And finally, it's about engaging change makers and sport prescribers in critical sectors to show how HIPE can align with their objectives. So this is a project that EUPEA is now involved for 2 years, and the project will end next year. Another project is the ASC project about active school communities. Here we are working with several European partners. One of them is here represented by Professor Roland Naul, the Willibald Gebhardt Institute of Münster in Germany. And I think the Hungarian School Sport Federation is involved in this project as well. So here we try to give the idea of cooperation between school community, and communities and sport clubs, a concrete follow-up. And it's about have a better integration of the community sport in school education with the aim to encourage more children across Europe to engage in HIPE. So mainly there will be elaborated advocacy documents for sport organizations that they can share with local and national policymakers, young people, parents and schools in order to explain what are the benefits of increased physical activity and the contribution of an active school community program in particular. So that's something which is very important. We have to get in touch with parents because they are mainly involved in the education of their children. And of course, school has to play a major role, but nothing is possible without the parents. Then the idea is to develop a self-assessment tool for sports organizations to evaluate their commitment and also their capacity to work in school settings to increase physical activity in all young people. So the outcomes of the project should help sport organizations in order to be ready to contribute to HIPE in school settings. Then an action planning tool to enable sports organizations and schools to communicate and to work effectively in partnership to increase physical activity should also be an outcome of this project. Another project, they are all funded by the Erasmus Plus program, is the Active Voice project, which should also build up active tools for a sustainable active Europe. Here, the main objective in this project is to support important stakeholders on the European level, organizations, in their advocating for HIPE, for physical activity. So it's something that everyone should be able to take profit of when it comes about advocating, marketing, and so on, in order to be successful in this aim. Then I come to a project which should be well known here in Hungary, the European School Sport Day project. Yeah, there is the logo, I saw it before. So here we have been invited by the Hungarian School Sport Federation 2 years ago to develop this idea based on the experience that HSSF has made over many years here in Hungary with the National School Sport Day. And together with our partners in this project, like Youth Sport Trust, ISCA, BGB Active, we developed a toolkit and an action plan that should help schools to implement a school sport day. And in the first year, this was done in 3 countries, in Poland, Bulgaria, and of course Hungary. And this year, there was the follow-up project, ESSD2, where we tried to implement this idea of the European School Sport Day in 20 European countries. And this was a huge success. It's many students, many schools participating in the frame of the European Week of Sport at this European School Sport Day. And even if this project, the second project, will be over soon, the idea, of course, will continue to live, and there will be European School Sport Days every year. So I mentioned it before, we have strong cooperation with the Hungarian School Sport Federation in this kind of projects, and there's another one which is also relevant for when you talk about HIPE. It's the SHAPE project, Shaping the Principles of Physical Education. I won't go into details here because I think that there has already been said a lot of things about it by Tamas, or will be said also tomorrow. Here it was the aim to develop with our partners, first to analyze existing documents in the participating countries, the core curricula, the public education systems and national qualification frameworks, and so on, in order to be able to compare the regulations that are in practice in the different countries. And based on this, we developed the European level framework on quality physical education, and all of you received the related documents. I think that this is also a project of highest relevance. The outcomes are of highest relevance and should be of use in the future also to give this idea of having a European level framework for quality physical education a follow-up. So I was quite quick, but not that bad, because in general we are late. So I tried to give you an overview about what our activities are in EUPEA related to HIPE, but I have to repeat that this is not our core business. Our core business is physical education in general and advocating for it. But the projects are of highest relevance for us in order to have a stronger voice also, and in order to give the implementation of good ideas also follow up. And I invite you to have a look at our website, and we are present also on Twitter and Facebook. So please follow us and you will stay tuned. Thank you.